ओके ठीक है चले Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. On behalf of Pakistan Alliance for Early Childhood, I warmly welcome Dr. Elaine, Ms. Elizabeth Wu, and Ms. Megha Singh. I hope I have pronounced all the names correctly. So let me introduce Dr. Elaine. Dr. Elaine Kim is the CEO and co-founder of Trehaus. She's a medical doctor and entrepreneur. She's the co-founder and CEO of Treehouse, which is an early education program. I suggest Dr. Elaine should talk a little bit about the teacher training platform you are running, and also I hope the methodology and the curriculum is being used will be discussed during the presentations. And Miss Elizabeth Wu is the head of curriculum and pedagogy, and she is the co-founder of Treehouse. She's an experienced educator, an entrepreneur, and an early education thought leader. So we are very lucky to have such experienced speakers with us, and I am optimistic that this is going to be highly beneficial for all of us, for all the participants. And another colleague is Miss Megha Singh from the Tree House. So I warmly welcome all of you and all the participants who have joined from across the country. We will let the presenters present their presentations, and then we will, of course, give the participants some time to ask their questions. So normally we have our webinars very interactive. So I suggest the participants to kindly send your questions, type your questions in the chat box as well. So over to you, Dr. Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khadija. And thank you all so much for having us here today. We're really excited to be able to share about what we're doing. We have myself and Elizabeth were the co-founders of Trehaus, and really at our heart, we started Trehaus to be able to, because we see how important early childhood education is. I think it's maybe one of the most important things that we can be focused on right now. The biggest legacy that we can leave is to raise the next generation of change makers. And we all know, I think we're all here in this space because we understand how important those early years are. Those first years before you even turn 6 or 7, we know that by the time you are 6 or 7 years old, that's when the first 5 years is when 90% of your brain is formed, when most of your character is formed. It's your most formative years. And so by the time kids are 6 or 7 years old, whether or not you've had access to good childhood education already predicts the future of what they're going to be when they grow up and as adults. And so we all are here, I think, because we're passionate about this space. We know how important it is. And so that was the heart that me and Elizabeth had when we started Trehaus and Little Lab. I'm a doctor by training, actually, so I wasn't in the education space, whereas Elizabeth has been in the education space for many, many years, and she's a huge thought leader. She trains the next generation of early childhood leaders in Singapore. Actually, she's brought upon by the Ministry of Education. She's been trained at National Technology University and has a master's from there, as well as been trained at Harvard University. And so she really brings that expertise, but both of us bring our heart of wanting to make early education better. We really believe that it is maybe one of the most important things that we can do is to make early childhood education better and also more accessible. Because what we believe in is that every child, regardless of where you're from, where you're born, should have access to the best education in early childhood. And our question over these years has been, what is the best early childhood education we can bring about? There's so much research out there about how kids learn and what kids need to do. So how do we define what the best early childhood education is? And the second question that we have been asking ourselves is, how do we make this early childhood education the best early childhood education accessible to everybody? How do we bring it not just in the context of where we are in Singapore? As you all may know, Singapore is maybe one of the biggest leaders in education. We have a lot of resources to be able to educate our children um, in the world. We're probably ranked as one of the highest in terms of education. So we are very fortunate. Our kids are very fortunate to be able to get access to the best education. But then our question is, how do we make sure that it's not just kids who are from these contexts, very affluent urban cities who get to go to like these top preschools and stuff like that, who get this education? How do we make sure that it's going to every child, regardless of background, regardless of where you're from? And we've been really, really excited to actually see this play out in Pakistan as well, where we've been doing a very large project with various Pakistan ministries of education to actually bring the education that we have to Pakistan as well, using technology, using our platform, which is called Little Lab, and also using teacher training to train teachers in the public school systems in Pakistan. And we did this also in a research-based manner, where we actually did research to evaluate children before and after we trained their teachers and gave them access to our platform. And we've been so excited to see it come to life in Pakistan. We've actually seen it in two provinces. We have about 9 to 10,000 children who are going through this in Pakistan right now, and it's been so exciting to see the impact that has brought to the communities. The way that the kids have really engaged and been able to have access to really great early childhood education that we know is going to change their lives. It's like huge impact, and we're excited to continue the work that we are doing in Pakistan by bringing it to children across Pakistan and working with all of you, leaders in the community in education, teachers, educators, government leaders, school owners. We are here to work with you to bring that best education that we believe it needs to be to your children in your context. And we're doing it through Trehaus and Little Lab. And so we'll be more than happy to share that with you later on. But I think what we want to do here today in the first place is for me to hand over to Elizabeth to share her um to share about that first question we talked about. What is early childhood education, the best early childhood education? What does that look like? What does research tell us about how kids learn? What does new education tells us about early childhood development and how that influences how we should be educating our very youngest children in their most formative, important years of their lives. And with that, I'll hand to Elizabeth, and then of course, after her sharing, we will also be really, really excited to kind of have um I think I had shared earlier that one of the things that is really important to us is that everything that we do has to be relevant and contextualized to to you, right? Like to our children, to the teachers, to the context of where you are. And so we want to really hear from you so that we can make it relevant and contextualized to you. So we're really looking forward to the question and answer later as well, where we can share about how all this comes into play in your context, in your reality, in your schools with your children. So thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. I think
Thank
today,
you.
good afternoon to everyone. Um, we
Good
just when
afternoon.
we talk about early education, I think we will have so much to talk about. And today's webinar title is Teaching with Heart, the Role of Social Emotional Learning in Early Childhood Education. And I believe everybody here wants to learn something about social emotional learning. Am I right? So I'm really honored to be able to talk about something that's really close to our heart. And that is the power, social emotional learning, and how that has the power to shape not just our classrooms, but also the future itself. And when we think about the challenges our children face in their lifetimes, we think about how technology is advancing, there's global competition or even academic achievement. But here's what the research tells us, that actually children who really thrive are not necessarily the ones who memorize the most facts or score the highest in exams and standardized tests. Children who truly thrived are the ones who know how to work with others, who can bounce back from setbacks, who approach problems with creativity, and who lead with empathy. And, these are really, soft skills are not soft. Soft skills are not pointless. Soft skills are very essential. And it's the foundation in early childhood education for meaningful accomplishment, for healthy relationships, and for us to build a very resilient community. And social emotional learning today, what we want to talk about in this webinar, is really that process. I'm just going to be sharing some visuals as well, just to guide our sharing, that it's really a process and an approach to learning we educators understand to help young children develop skills to understand and manage feelings. I see in the chat about emotional regulation. Adults need that, children need that. We need to teach our children that. Social emotional learning is the process in which we help children build positive relationships and develop empathy to make responsible choices and develop a healthy sense of self. And we're talking about using moments in our lessons. We're talking about using the learning environments, the routines, the transitions, the playtime, the learning time to help children develop what we know as social emotional learning, right? Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision making, most importantly, in their formative years, to turn all their big emotions into positive actions and interactions. And these competencies, they don't happen by accident. We have to design the environment, we have to create, we have to intentionally cultivate, we have to practice them as early childhood practitioners, as leaders, as educators, as parents. And when we integrate social emotional learning into our classrooms, give me a second, let me just go back. We are looking at, creating conditions to help make these essential skills possible. And social emotional learning is about seeing all these opportunities. And later on, we'll talk a little bit about what Elaine shared, but I just want to share the heart and the philosophy behind it. Is really that we want to be educators to grow hearts and minds. We don't want to be just educators to look at only cognitive growth. We want to raise children who are ready to learn, curious to learn, who can collaborate with peers. And I'm sure these are things that every educator all across the world, we want to be teaching children that in our classrooms. And when we approach our practice this way, as educators, what happens also, I would tell you that as educators, we start to also reconnect with why we choose education in the first place. And, when we practice collaboration, creativity, resilience, and empathy in our own professional lives, we remember why we are in education. So I know today there's a lot of education. I see, some of you are doing your master's in education. Some of you are doing deep and good work in education. Let's remember that, when we build classrooms, we want to have hearts and minds that grow together. And we want to also prepare children for the 21st century and to thrive in the world they live in. So just going to share a little bit about the work that we do and beyond social emotional learning alone, how the Trehaus method, the work that we do and the Little Labs integration of project-based learning can strengthen these social emotional foundations in very powerful, very practical, and very joyful ways. And Trehaus method is not just about academics. It is relationship-led, it is values-driven, it is deeply human-centered. And I know Elaine shared a little bit about how even when we do assessments, we want it to be authentic. We want teachers to be having a growth mindset. And it is really built on the belief that we prepare children for the future, but we also practice being thoughtful, empathetic, and collaborative in the here and now, every day in our classrooms. So a little bit about our head, heart, and hands framework that complements this beautifully with social emotional learning, cognitive growth, emotional development, and purposeful action. Our head, heart, and hands look at engaging children in their thinking, nurturing their feelings, and also empowering them to learn in a holistic and meaningful ways. And our framework embraces the whole child and aligns social emotional learning with thoughtfully designed learning environments, authentic assessments, rich learning experiences, and nurturing relationships to support the holistic development. I'm going to show you some pictures. I know this is recorded, but I just want to show you that nothing beats showing you this in action. When children engage in the projects that we do on Little Lab, whether is it exploring nature and leading activities that they plan for themselves, whether they are creating and designing a simple invention, or they are transforming an idea that they have. They talk about it in the classroom. They have conversations. They tell their teachers what they are interested in, and they transform that idea into reality. Whether is it they expressing their thoughts and their ideas through art, or engaging in meaning making and shared experiences with their peers. Or lastly, solving like real world problems and learning to give back and advocate for something they feel strongly about. I want to tell you that a lot of things happen, and this is where children learn how to work in teams, negotiate ideas, listen deeply, express their thoughts, persevere when things get difficult, when they see cookies that don't turn out well, and they feel sad, and then they get a chance to develop empathy. This is SEL for you. This is social emotional learning for you. And our children really will begin to understand through this way of learning that it's not about getting the answers right. It's about working through emotions, communicating courageously, and creating meaning together. And as educators, we also grow to become co-constructors of learning, and we become joyful learners together with the children. That's really very powerful. So when we have social emotional learning, we have our Treehouse Head, Heart, and Hands framework, and we have Little Labs project-based creativity. When they all come together, we end up having classrooms, that children can grow in confidence and compassion. Teachers grow in clarity, teachers become fulfilled, and learning becomes meaningful, and learning becomes joyful. So this is my very short sharing, and I just wanted to say that we all do good work in our classrooms, and a lot of you work with children or work with teachers. Let's keep building classrooms where children feel safe to express themselves. Let's keep building our classrooms to allow our children to make mistakes, take risks, develop empathy, learn teamwork, Let's build classrooms that support our children to grow into who they are truly meant to be. And I just want to encourage all of us here to lead with our hearts and walk the talk of social emotional learning in our own lives so that we can start also designing learning with intention and creating environments where our children can truly flourish to become confident, compassionate, and creative individuals. So that's a little bit about what social emotional learning and all that we do. Back to you, Elaine.
Thank you so much,
Wonderful.
Liz. Thank you. Khadija, was there anything you wanted to say in the meantime before I continue?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, I loved what Elizabeth just talked about. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I think as Elizabeth said, we so to give a little bit of context, at Trehaus, which is the company that we co-founded, we created an ecosystem to really put this into actual practice, to really make it a reality, right? Because I think we all understand that social emotional learning being a core of early childhood education is so important. But unfortunately, we don't see it happening, unfortunately, in a lot of curricula and a lot of schools, where, for better or for worse, people are focused only on a very direct instruction type of teaching that does not take into account all these research and understanding we know now about how important social emotional learning is. And that is why we started our research lab schools in Singapore. We have one in Singapore, one in Jakarta. And what she's shown is how this has really come into play and how this has really come to life um, through our lesson plans that we've developed over many years. We have hundreds and hundreds of uh, project-based and play-based lessons that we've developed over the years, written by masters and PhDs in education. But what is important to us is it cannot just be for those few children who are fortunate enough to benefit from coming to one of our schools. So the thing is that we've always talked about how do we make sure that this is accessible to everybody, regardless of your context, regardless of your setting, and how do we make that a reality? And I think earlier one of the participants was asking us to share about Little Lab, right? Introduce the Little Lab. And I guess that's where I want to also set that context. So while we have we've built this ecosystem where we have our Treehouse schools, but now what is more important to us is then bringing it to people everywhere else, including in Pakistan. And the way that we do that is through Little Lab, which is our education technology platform, which is used for us to help to provide teacher training um, to anybody in the early education space. And this could be in daycares, it could be in preschools, it could be in home community settings, creches. It could also be in government schools in the lower primary, elementary school levels. It's in various different settings. But what is important is that you are educating and bringing up these children who are that age group, right? Between, from when they're tiny little ones, 18 months we start in Singapore, all the way until 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, like this crucial period of time. How do we take what we know about how teachers should educate kids and and make that happen? And that we believe that the key is in uplifting educators. So I will also say that we believe that technology needs to be used for good. Technology can never replace that human educator. Each of you have such an important role. That human touch and that human element in early childhood education cannot be replaced. And so that is why we are never about like using a screen or using technology to just replace a teacher and you have the kids use a screen. We don't believe in that. We believe that what we want to do is enable the caregivers, the educators, to be able to deliver that education to the children, that social emotional learning, that project-based learning, that play-based learning. You be the ones to facilitate. And so what we're doing is we're enabling you to do that. And we do that through our platform, our Teacher Training Academy, through our platform. We're also doing it through our teaching toolbox, which is basically a way to anyone who is able to learn a bit, they're also able to tap upon the teaching toolbox to deliver this education. And some of you may not be strong in English, so you can actually do it in Urdu or whatever it may be. But it guides you to be able to deliver this education to the children in your context. So that's an introduction of what Little Lab does a lot more than that. It does evaluation of children, and so on. But just I wanted to just get a bit of set a bit of context about how Little Lab is related to Trehaus School. And yeah, and so that that is what we do. And I do
Yeah,
see a bunch of different questions coming in right now.
yeah.
Khadija, would you like me to go ahead and
Yeah,
try
yeah,
and
yeah, please. Yeah, that's what I was going to request you. Yeah, if you could
answer?
respond to the questions, and then we will allow the participants to, we will open this for discussion.
Yes, absolutely. So I love actually also hearing a lot of the comments about the context in Pakistan, right? I think talking about how, um dropout rates and like, there's just like needs to be done in terms of like educating the kids in the school system. Um and in the rural parts of where you're from, how it is difficult for teachers to overcome the problems. I think there are challenges that we are cognizant of, right? Like the level of training, the level of resources that teachers have, also the teacher-child ratios that you guys are faced with sometimes in these school systems where you are dealing with one teacher for 60 children in the classroom, 70 children in the classroom. And to that point about the saying that it's too difficult for all teachers to overcome problem, I wanted to share something that may be encouraging. If I'm gonna share this actually. So for those of you who are saying that this cannot be done in Pakistan, I wanted to share this with you. This is us applying that project-based, play-based learning, um, social emotional learning in the context of Pakistan, in a rural village, in rural villages, in rural government schools, and bringing that to life. And so you can Liz said that when she said that, oh, pictures mean a lot, that's when it inspired me to actually share these pictures with you. But this is in Punjab and KP, where we are actually in these schools um, doing these play-based, project-based projects in the schools. We're introducing literacy, numeracy, foundational learning in that way that we believe early education needs to be done. And we made that a reality through our teacher training program as well as our Little Lab platform. And within a few weeks, we took these educators who have not been exposed to all these principles about what early childhood education needs to be, and have been teaching in a very rote learning traditional way that is not interactive and not creative, um, that does not actually get these kids to learn anything because that's not how kids learn. We managed to within a few weeks really impart into them that ability to teach kids the way early education needs to be. So I wanted to just share this very quickly. And I mean, we have a lot of research behind it as well to show the efficacy of it being done. And I felt it was important to share because I want you all to know it can happen in your setting and we know it can because we did it because we did it. And so
True.
yeah, and we'd be very, very happy if any of you want to bring this into your communities, into your schools, into your spaces, reach out to us because this is what we're here. We're a mission-driven company dedicated to impacting the lives of millions of children by bringing this education to children and changing their lives and raising them for the future that they need and preparing them, equipping them, teaching them also like language, numeracy, all of these things. This is how kids learn as well. And so we're providing that foundational basic learning so that they can go into schools and thrive. And so yeah, reach out to us if this is something that you feel that your community can benefit from and you want to learn and you think that we can help you to do that. That's what we're here for. So we'd be very happy for you to reach out to. So I'm going to go on to some of the other questions.
And I would add that I see some questions about parents as well. And Elaine shared about teacher training. A lot of times it begins with us. Really, it's the mindset change. And I was the one who trained the Pakistan teachers. I would tell you that one mindset shift, you can do a lot of things in the classroom. You can go in and you can start hearing laughter again. You can allow for children's voices. Only if we would start just small steps, shift our mindset to understanding how the brain grows, what is the growth mindset, social emotional learning, how to introduce that in the classrooms, how to facilitate, how to ask questions. All these things are things that we can teach teachers. And when they start trying in the classrooms and they see success, and they see, oh, actually the lessons can be fun, our children are learning, they are engaged, they are also starting to read and write and express themselves. They want to learn more. So that's how we start. And it's the same for parents, right? There's a question about parents being uneducated. And so this is also the role and the very powerful and an empowering role of educators. We go in, we excite the children go home, the children tell their parents, the parents get engaged, they want to find out more. What is the school doing? And it becomes this very virtuous cycle that we can start seeing in our communities.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And I have also seen the questions about, the importance of schooling. And I really do believe that it's not about whether you're doing it at home or at school, whether it's a parent or a caregiver or a teacher. What is important is that we're going in with the mindset, I believe, of how do we help these children reach their full potential? How do we educate them in a way, in whatever form it may be? And I am a believer that education can be delivered, whether in the context of a physical school, whether in the context of a homeschool at home by parents, whether in the context of a daycare, whether even in the context of a community space, right? There are all these different forms of just where you gather these children and bring in the caregivers or adults or teachers or whoever may be to make sure that they're learning during that time that they're in that space. And that's why when we've built Little Lab and right now we have people using Little Lab in different parts of the world and it's different contexts. Some of them are creches, some of them are preschool, some of them are international schools with preschool arms that are using our program and our technology. So it's really, really, and then in Pakistan, as you saw, is the government schools with 60 children in one classroom, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 year olds in a classroom. So I think that's it's not about how like the setting, but it's about what is being delivered in the setting. And that's really what our program is designed to do to train teachers on how to deliver it and then to give you that program to deliver to the children in a way that is catered for all kinds of different backgrounds of the teachers and of the children. There's a question I think about uh, how it aligns with reading and literacy. So this is actually something that's very, very important to us because if you look at research, um, the ability to learn language peaks at about age 3 to about age 7. So by the time kids are 7 years old, their ability to neurodevelopmentally, right, their ability to learn and pick up new languages actually drops a lot. So that's why the early years again is so important because you have so much synaptic formation and neurodevelopment in those early years that if you're not exposing them to principles of literacy, language. You're not exposing them to principles of numeracy. In Singapore, we call it Singapore math. It's just math, right? Like all these concepts, it actually becomes harder to deliver it at older ages. And so we actually in our program actually also have a little mathematician, little journalist program where we actually do teach foundational literacy, foundational numeracy. And we think it's so important. And it's done in a play-based way. So you'll see that in PISA scores, that in the OECD has PISA scores for older kids, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of that foundation of whether or not you can score well in that PISA scores is determined in those early years, whether or not you're exposed to that foundational literacy and numeracy in those early years and how it's being delivered. A lot of people will try and do it through rote learning and rote memorization. And we can tell you that in the early years, it does not work. It does not work. So if you are sitting in front of a classroom and trying to teach people through memorization, literacy and numeracy, um, that is not how kids learn. And in the longer run, it actually hurts them when they start going into academic learning. So this is another reason why it's so important to introduce concepts like foundational literacy and learning through that play-based way. And in our context, we integrate social emotional learning into learning these through the projects that are being delivered in our program as well. So that's something that I would say about the alignment with the reading. But yes, it is 100% aligned that we need kids to have that basis of literacy and numeracy, but it's also aligned in the sense that we're doing it through a holistic play-based project-based way of delivering that learning to the children.
Dr. Elaine, I have a question as well.
Yes, Razia.
I understood from the presentation that one of your focus is building the capacity of teachers who teach at early stage. My
Yes.
question is, do you have any kind of input available for teacher educators to teach the teachers of early child education? Because currently the 4 years initial teacher education program has also introduced the early child as an specialization in 6 courses we have to offer. So I think teacher educators' own capacity about the curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment of early childhood is very important, which is missing in the context of Pakistan. So what are your plans to build the capacity of teacher educators or university teachers who teach the teachers?
I love that, Razia. Yes, 100%. That is absolutely what we want to do. And our aim is to actually equip as many teachers as possible. And if that is done through a train the trainer, we actually have what we also call train the trainer programs, where, sometimes to deliver it, to scale it, to basically get it to the teachers that we need, um, we can actually help to basically uh, work with partners basically to then go out and run teacher training academy in these different contexts. So there's so we run cohorts basically where we train teachers, but we can also do programs where we work with institutions to partner together and then disseminate to further cohorts that are facilitated by the partners as well. Is that am I answering the question somewhat?
Yes, but how to get involved, how to get access of this train to trainer program? Because I think one of the issues here is awareness. Most of us do not have such kind of information available openly.
Absolutely.
Razia, can you speak a little bit louder because participants are not hearing your voice?
Yeah, I think
Because
Razia's asking how
most
to
of the
actually get involved and how to actually do it, right? So, Razia, absolutely. So this is why, if you are for the purpose of today, I want to shout out to everybody. If you feel that this is something that's going to be relevant for you, whether the Teacher Training Academy, whether our platform, whether you just are interested in finding out more about bringing this to your community or to your school, you can just reach out to us. And we have many, many different programs that we're working with to be able to support needs of different communities, different schools, different teachers to be able to bring this education to you. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. I think someone has shared our website, so you please do just drop us something in the form, and we can reach out to you to talk about how, in your context, we can build something in partnership with you
Okay.
to get that.
Zahid, you want to ask something? Zahid Lashari, you have raised your hand. जाहिद आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
जी जी अभी आवाज आ रही है।
हाँ जी, please go ahead. You want to ask something?
Yes, मेरा I would like to ask regarding my question in the context of our Sindh education system regarding to EC education. What was the best and ideal infrastructure and teaching method and curriculum syllabus for EC children in Sindh context locally?
We're obviously going to be biased and say that Trehaus method is the best. Trehaus method is the methodology, is a pedagogy that we've sort of like put together over the years, bringing in experts from around the world, from Stanford University's Khan Lab School in Silicon Valley, from Forest School in the UK. We brought all these best experts to actually build a pedagogy called the Treehouse Method, which takes the best elements of different pedagogies, including Montessori, Reggio Emilia, Brown Effa's ecological systems, respectful caregiving, and we take the best elements of that and we put that into place in our Treehouse Method. And you know, you asked about whether it is the right context for your location in Sin, and we believe that children, no matter where you are in the world, our brains are built the same way and we learn in the same way, right? And so the question is, how do we contextualize this pedagogy and this delivery of this pedagogy curriculum lessons to your context? And that is exactly what we do at Little Lab and Treehouse. Is basically learning about what your community, what your school needs, and then basically catering a program that uses that pedagogical foundation and help you to deliver it in your context. Yeah. So again, feel free to reach out to us if you feel that this is going to be something that you want to explore, if it's relevant for your community.
There is one question by Mehreen Abrar.
Mhm.
I am from Deaf Reach School System. We are working with deaf students in Pakistan and are currently opening satellite schools in villages to provide education to marginalized deaf children. What do you think are the best SEL skills to implement in rural areas, and how can we project or play-based learning techniques to improve their educational skills?
Mm. Absolutely. Liz, do you want to kind of share? I don't want to
I want to say that I just want to say there's no best SEL skills. Every SEL skill is very important. Self-regulation, a sense of self, social awareness, relationship building, develop empathy, everything in its totality is important for our next generation and even for ourselves. So as much as possible, if a teacher is able to integrate and incorporate the learning of these skills, starting with an awareness, a very healthy sense of self, and if the teacher is able to integrate and find opportunities, we will be empowering children every day. So I think that's so important, whether you are, typical able children, neuroatypical children, or physically handicapped children. We should create that opportunity for them to learn all the SEL skills for themselves, for the future as well.
Mm.
So that's my take. Yeah.
And I think actually, if I would chime in, I think that question is also related to PH's question, right? Whether is education just limited to activities through activity and play-based learning, or also related to co-curricular activities that foster holistic mental and physical development of a child? For us, we really believe that when you are a child, there's no like, oh, that we're learning academics, or we're learning subject, or we're learning to care about other people, or we're learning how to communicate with us. It's all, their entire world is learning, right? Every interaction that they have, everything, every game that they play, everything that they do is a form of learning. And for education to be done right, we believe it needs to be holistic and interdimensional, meaning you like thinking in a compartmentalized way about education, I think is a fallacy of a lot of our early childhood education. Because when you think about, okay, right now we're just going to study um, reading, right? And now we're going to learn PE. It's actually, that's not how kids, they don't divide their learning that way, right? And so I think,
Yeah, we introduce that to them. So we clap our
yeah,
hands and we say, sit in a circle, I'm going to be teaching you math. But that's a very adult interpretation of teaching. But that, like what Elaine said, is not the way children learn.
yeah. And which is why when we have built our pedagogy and our lesson plans and our projects, right? They're very holistic. They're very integrated. So for example, one of our projects would be like, let's learn how to bake something, right? And as they're learning to bake, we're actually teaching them math, more than, less than, weights, measurements. We're also teaching them empathy. Our first batch of cookies is designed to fail. So when the cookies fail, the teacher asks them, do you want to give up or do you want to try again? We're teaching them resilience. When the cookies, there'll be a nice one, not nice one. We'll ask the kids, how does it make you feel to have the not nice cookies? We're teaching them empathy. Do you want to share? We're teaching them caring and sharing. Then we're actually teaching them how to create their own thing, which is learning literacy and writing. We teach them market research, which is teaching them entrepreneurship. We're teaching them all of these skills that are all integrated into one project. And again, these are projects that you guys can do too, because it's on our platform, and basically if you use our platform, you can deliver these projects to the children that are in your context. It's step-by-step instructions on how to deliver them in Urdu as well. So you're able to deliver that, but that is what I mean. Like it needs to be, I think education needs to be that holistic. And we at Little Lab and Treehouse, we actually have a framework of 21 different developmental goals that we're always trying to achieve with every single one of our projects and our lessons. Head, heart, and hands, right? So head is your literacy, your numeracy, your critical thinking, your STEM. Under heart is things like empathy, grit, resilience. Under hands, you have things like communication skills, public speaking skills, confidence building. So understanding of the world. So it's a very holistic approach to education that we believe in and that we've developed because we recognize that that is how it needs to be. And yeah, yeah, that's what we believe in. And I'm also noticing that Mohammed Aslam, your hand's been up for a very long time. So sorry we've not been able to address you yet.
Mohammed Aslam is one of our active members, so
Oh,
he's
wonderful.
always with us. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Aslam, please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Ma'am, I want to say that I am working in an organization, Punjab Workers Welfare Fund here in Punjab, South Punjab, and I'm working as vice principal in the chain of school, one of the school situated in Bahawalpur, and we are working on the education of the industrial children of workers. I want to ask some questions from Elizabeth also because she has claimed that uh, uh, she has been working on training sessions in Pakistan. So, can I get some guidelines or help in designing the curriculum and activities aligned with that curriculum uh, at the level of ECE and also the training of teachers and caregivers to get the objectives of the curriculum implementing in the special designed for the children of industrial workers in South Punjab, Pakistan. Thank you.
Are you asking, because it's a little bit muffled, are you asking how we train the teachers?
Yes, I want to get information about the uh, designing of the curriculum and the activities aligned with that curriculum and special needs of the teacher training to get the objectives of that curriculum.
Okay, so you're asking about the curriculum. So we have our teaching toolbox. I think Elaine shared about that. Just now I presented some pictures, and you would see just a very small glimpse of some projects that children can do with the teachers can do with the children. The curriculum is project and play based. The curriculum embodies all the developmental milestones that Elaine was talking about, the 21 developmental milestones. And these projects cover core skills that in early childhood development are fundamental and important. It includes literacy, includes numeracy, it includes social emotional learning, it includes giving back, etc., etc. So that's the curriculum. I hope I'm answering the question. And in the training, what we do is we wanted the teachers to be prepared to meet the curriculum and then implement the curriculum in class. So how that needs to be a preparation of heart and mind, really, because traditionally teachers know that, oh, I just go in, I just teach, right? But it does require a little mindset shift to really understand the principles of early childhood education. And that's found in our teacher training academy, also in Little Lab. I cover topics like how do you become an effective educator? I cover topics like what exactly goes behind, what do we understand about play? What is the play pedagogy? Why is it so important for educators to know this? Because we are working with very young children and how their brain processes, how they learn. It's really done through playful learning, joyful and playful learning. So I cover some of these topics. And of course, it's a little contextualized because the participants over Zoom will still unmute and say their challenges. This is where we learn that it's not easy work that a lot of you do. Class sizes are big. Some children don't enter school till a certain age. I've also heard a lot of stories about parents not being able to be present for their children, and the children are, they are alone and they don't have support and resources, and the educators unmute and share these challenges. So in that training, we really look at what matters in your context, in your community, and how can we still embrace the mindset change and introduce what we want to do in Little Lab, which is the project-based learning approach to learning in early childhood education. And we unpack that. So we spend days together. I'm online. The people are together in a space, but there's a lot of conversations. And this is very empowering in and of itself for educators. I hope I shared a little bit of the details so that you could, understand how we went and we did our work in Pakistan.
Yeah, and to really emphasize that point, I think we really believe that training educators and working with educators, it needs to be very contextualized, meaning it's no point giving like a theoretical understanding only of what early childhood education needs to be. So what Liz does really, really well is that it's usually a two-way conversation where she understands what is your context? What is it like in your classroom? What are the challenges that you face? And making sure that we are, and she talks about how you apply these principles that she has trained you in or that she has shared on our platform or whatever it may be. How do you actually apply it in your context, in your setting, in your school? Yeah, so I also want to answer Shaida's question about observation and assessment in ECCES setting, and whether there are any standardized assessment tools to it. And I love that you asked ask this question because this is one of the things that we really, really believe is super important. I think right now, so we have always felt that there has not been a way to objectively track and measure outcomes and assess children's progress in ECCE. And so we built it. So on littlelab.com, we've actually built a tool called Little Evaluator. And what a Little Evaluator does is exactly what you're asking about. Shaida Sana Zaidi, I think it is exactly a way for educators to observe the children, and there's very specific milestones that we track the children in to be able to objectively evaluate their progress across our 21 different developmental goals that we talked about. And in fact, we tapped upon this evaluation tool to be able to do the Pakistan project that we did, where we did a research impact study where we actually evaluated the kids before and after the teacher training and the access to our platform and our curriculum. And that's where we were able to see a significant difference in improvement that is measurable, trackable, accessible, and we can evaluate these kids through a series of activities, very fun play-based activities over a period of 4 days, and get a snapshot of where every single child is at across all 21 different developmental goals. So for any of you who are in that space where it's more government systems and policy and stuff like that, this is such invaluable information because now we're able to help you to track and measure the holistic performance and holistic progress objectively of the children in your space. So many hands are up. So
Yeah, more hands. So Shameen, Hina Akbar, please go ahead because you have been raising your hand. Hina Akbar, please ask your question. Hina, can you hear me? हिना मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Hello.
जी, go ahead, Hina, please.
So, ma'am, I want to ask you how to treat initial students. Also, I am pre-nursery class teacher and taking also class. So, tell me some things that how to treat because I have 3.5 years monthly kids. So, hello.
की आवाज कट रही है
Vanya, can you rephrase the question because
नहीं इनकी आवाज काफी कट रही है इशू आ रहा है प्लीज आप एक और दफा बोलेंगी मैम है ना
उनसे
हाँ।
उर्दू में पूछ के आप ट्रांसलेट करें प्लीज.
जी जी आप उर्दू में बोल दें मैं फिर ट्रांसलेट कर दूंगी
कि मुझे ये पूछना था कि मेरे पास मैं मॉन्टेसरी की टीचर हूँ अभी भी मैं क्लास ही ले रही हूँ तो जो सब मेरे पास 3.5 साल के बच्चे होते हैं उनको ट्रीट करना थोड़ा मेरे लिए मुश्किल हो जाता है बिकॉज वो घर से रो के आ रहे होते हैं वो तो कुछ इनिशियल आप स्टेटमेंट्स बताएं मुझे स्टेजेस जो मेरे लिए हेल्पफुल हो.
Okay.
Okay, what she's asking is that she's a teacher and she's even teaching at the moment. And in her class, she has kids who are 3 years old and they are quite rowdy and aren't listening to her. And she wants to ask if there are some initial stages or steps that she could implement to keep the place more organized and the children more attentive.
That's
That's
like
the
full-on
question.
teacher training.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
that's
like
exactly what
full-
she covers during the teacher training as
That's like full
well.
on. Do you have time? Because we'll stay forever, you know. But quick strategies. Let's go back to SEL. Relationships. Always it's about connection before correction. It's always about building relationships so that we can get cooperation and learning can truly happen. In early childhood education is very different. And I like to point us, a lot of you I see in the chat are doing research. And if you look at the research, you would realize that in early childhood education is the only sector in education where assessment, it's really about observations. and never an exam or a test. And if we're still using only checklist and a standardized test to decide what our children are like whether or not our children are learning, that's not what the research tells us. So we need a very holistic, a very objective tool and ways and approach and thinking to looking at how we can assess children. And number one is always observation and then very objective evaluation that gives you a full photo album, never just one snapshot of what the child is capable or has mastered. So I think that is very important, and the research points us to that. So if we're looking like Elaine shared about Little Evaluator, and all across the world, people are rethinking their tools because this is the only sector where, because the brain is developing so fast, and also because our children are learning in so many dynamic ways, we can never use one exam or one test to decide whether our children have competency in something. So I think that's
Very
my
nice.
way.
Very nice. Thank you. शमीम आपने काफी देर से हाथ
Assalamu
खड़ा
alaikum. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to everyone. I'm
Good
Shamim
afternoon.
Ibadat. I'm working with Al Khan Education Service, Pakistan, in South region. I really grateful to see efforts of Ms. Khadija Khan in conducting such a useful session for us that is really helpful for us
Thank you.
who are working especially with ECD. I just want to share that in our schools, we are starting our day with the meditation and mindfulness activities that we are also doing. And as Miss was sharing some examples of play-based activities, we are also trying our level best to create play-based learning in our and encouraging play-based learning in our campuses as well. But still, there is a room for improvement. And I just want to say that is there any resource pack or is there any helping note or the list of activities where on one click a simple teacher of the government school or simple or untrained or even I can't say untrained, but all the teachers can get more and more ideas to work on SCL. Can you provide us any helping note or any resource pack? Thank you so much.
Yes, that is actually what our Little Lab teaching toolbox does. It's literally that. So we have a lesson library, and it's not just so we have hundreds and hundreds of lessons that have been designed, and that when you go on, um, you are basically there's step-by-step instructions on how to deliver it. So even if you don't have a background in a very strong background in ECCE, you can follow the step-by-step instructions. And we mentioned they're also in Urdu. They're all project-based, they're all play-based, they all are covering the 21 different developmental goals. They're really enjoyable things that really bring out that love for learning. And that's why I said it's in your hands too. So that's what we've been developing. That's what we've built. And so we have it on Little Lab. So again, if you guys are interested, please just drop us a message. It feels like a lot of people really, really are excited about what we have. So I'm really happy to hear that. And we would love for you to be able to share a Little Lab for you. But it does exactly that. And you'll be able to use that as a resource in your classrooms to be able to deliver that education to the kids. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shamim, for that question and also, recognizing our efforts. Shamim herself is a champion of early years education. So maybe next time you will conduct a webinar for us. So there are more hands, Elaine. So the stationery house, people have not written their name, so it's very difficult for me to Vanya, ye kaun hai? Stationery house and then PH. Can you ask them to, introduce themselves and ask their question?
बिल्कुल अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आप लोगों के नाम जूम पे गलत आ रहे हैं, प्लीज अपना नाम रीनेम कर दें या अनम्यूट करके आप लोग अपना नाम बता दें और अगली बार के लिए भी अपना चेंज कर दें जूम का नाम, या मैं कर दूंगी जूम का नाम चेंज, मुझे बस बता दें।
International Islamic University, Islamabad.
Currently, I am pursuing
Sorry,
my.
sorry, ma'am, आपकी आवाज नहीं आई. Can you repeat that once more?
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. I am Nuzhat Fatma
Walaikum salam.
from International Islamic University, Islamabad. Currently, I am pursuing my degree in educational leadership and management, and now I am in my 5th semester. So I want to ask a question. In many families, parents are uneducated or less educated, or we can say they are educated, but still they don't know how to encourage or how to support their child emotionally when their child get failed in some courses or subject in school. Such parents start to criticize them, start to compare them with other children, which leads to drop out of the students from school, losing study interest in studies, and later on it leads to emotional instability. So how we can help such children to take back the interest in studies and get emotionally stable? Thank you.
Liz, do you want to take that?
I think this is a wonderful question, and it's a very real situation where you feel that because we always think that the parents should play a very important role in raising the
Yeah.
child, and sometimes it's a challenge. I always say that then let's make children come to school and enjoy coming to school. Let's create that safe space for them to learn. Let's role model the social emotional learning that we want children to have as educators so that they will always have a reference. And you never know that your impact and your influence and the role modeling and the learning that the children can receive from you and can get inspired from you, they will end up going back to tell their parents, and their parents would, learn as well. So I think that is our role as educators. It's a very, very empowering role. And don't give up because sometimes it is an uphill task, but don't give up. Yeah.
I want to chime in a little bit also, because this is I think parents actually come from a very good place. They just want the best for their kids. So a lot of it is really about educating parents. And I think we had talked about it earlier, how one of the very core principles that we have at Treehouse and Little Lab is the fact that parental involvement is actually one of the most important factors for childhood success and for education success. So a big part of it is really getting parents involved. And I think that is why at Little Lab we so one of the things that I'll mention, right, like in the Pakistan project that we did, where we have about 10,000 children. These are village children, so these are a lot of them very low income communities. Usually parents are not educated as well. Very high teacher-child ratios. One of the things that we do at Little Lab is when you use our platform, it also helps you to auto-generate reports. It auto-generates photo albums, reports, without the teachers having to do anything. It's actually a tool that's embedded in. So as you're doing it, it learns about what you're doing, and you can click a button, and it can actually generate a report for the parents. So parents can see what they're doing. They're also invited to the showcases, and they see the photos of what's happening. Now, the beauty of this is that it really allows parents to come alongside the teachers and the children to understand what the kids are learning, and therefore have an understanding of what is important for the kids to be learning. Meaning it's not about like passing an exam anymore. It's really changing that mindset. It's like, okay, our kids are learning this. Look at when they did this particular activity, they learned this particular skill. When they did this particular project, they had the confidence to speak out and learn this entrepreneurship value and stuff like that. And so even in that interaction, through the communications that our platform facilitates with parents, it educates that community. One other really exciting thing is that the teacher-child ratio in these settings were really, really high. So I think earlier on, I think Hina was talking about how do we manage in the classroom, right? We know all these things, but how do we do it? And one of the things is that it's a very high teacher-child ratio. Sometimes in these settings where it's one teacher for 50 kids, it becomes really impossible to teach them. So one of the things that we did in this project is we trained community helpers. These are just parents, they're volunteers. We trained them, and then we brought them into the classroom, and that halves the teacher-child ratio from 1:50 or 1:60 to 1:30, and that changed a lot. But what that also did is it then trained and educated those parents about what early education is. And they're then able to take that learning and bring it to their homes and their communities and share that as well. So then, it becomes that principle that we believe in of learning needs to be a collaboration between the educators and teachers in school and the parents at home. And we brought it to life in the project that we did in Punjab and KP, by educating not just the educators but also parents and volunteers as well. Yeah. And that gave them a job, by the way. It turned them into educators. It turned a parent who was just, not, didn't have a career or anything into an educator. So that was really, really exciting to see. Yeah. Um, who should I thank you for the support, everyone. Is there
I have
anyone
one
who should I?
question. I
Yes.
have
Yes, Zahid.
uh, in our country, Pakistan, I would like to refer. We have such a three languages. One is our native language, Sindhi, which are taught in our schools, especially in early years. Second one is our national language, Urdu. Third one is English. So our children, myself, struggling in early years. So which language would be better for early years children? They get their better education because it is complicated. Our teachers, our government, non-government schools teaching three languages. One school taught in English, one taught in Urdu, and one taught in native language. So I would like to uh, request, ask you, which language is better for early years children to get their better education?
Hmm. So I think we talked about earlier about how the early years is actually the period of time when your brain learns languages. So it's actually a great thing for kids to be learning in multiple languages. And actually, research has shown that when kids are bilingual or they're taught in multiple languages, it actually reinforces learning and it actually develops more synapses. It actually helps them learn better when they're learning in different languages. So in fact, it is actually encouraged to be bilingual, even trilingual. I think the important thing is that kids need to be, it's a communication, it's a relationship. So we do need to involve language that the kids can actually understand. So that, again, we talk about holistic learning, right? Social emotional learning, about project-based learning. And so it does need to be in a language that they are familiar with. So native language is always something that is important to be able to deliver. At the same time, learning languages that you want to learn. If Urdu is your national language and you need to learn it, if English is a language that you want to teach them, this is the time for you to teach it in early years. So in our program, we have our littles program. We have little projects that I delivered by teachers in whatever language they're comfortable in. So for example, if you're doing a project, you can actually the teachers can actually read the instructions in Urdu and deliver the lesson in Urdu, and the kids are learning all these different doing these activities in the language that they're comfortable in. We do also have a little journalist program, which is teaching English reading, writing, and phonics, and that is delivered in English. And so we believe that we it should be supported in whatever, like, having more than one language is a great thing. So we don't need to limit it is the point. Yeah.
But UNESCO said that the native language is the better for child because he or she learn more effective as per UNESCO statement. So
Yes.
what is the uh, condition and what is the true statement? Are child learn in multiple language in early years are more better in their native language? Because UNESCO says that the early years, the native language is very important for child because he or she learn more effective.
Yes, exactly. So as I was saying earlier, right, it's important to deliver it in the language that they're comfortable with and they know so that they can understand and learn all these other different modalities, whether it's like social emotional learning or it's like literacy or numeracy or whatever. They need to be able to learn it in the language that they're comfortable in, and so that they can benefit from the lessons. So that's why we do believe that it's important to deliver it in the native language. What I'm also saying is that it's also the crucial period of time to learn any language. So while we deliver most of the learning in the native language, this is a very important time to also deliver language training in other languages that you want them to learn. So for example, English or Urdu or whatever it may be. So they're both true at the same time. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Thank
Am I?
you. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, a
Yeah.
little announcement. We're going to end our webinar at exactly 3:30 p.m. We can only take one question, I believe, the last question, before we're going to wrap this up. So if anybody wants to unmute, we're going to take only one question now.
Yeah, Rosa
Assalamu
Fatma. Walaikum salam. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. I have also another question. Sometimes the children are very much shy, even if the parents are supportive, even if the teachers encourage the student to participate in the class, but still the students even don't want to answer the question in class. So how we can engage such kind of students in class? So do you have any suggestion for that?
I think there
Liz,
are many reasons why children are not ready. And sometimes it's the readiness, we have to examine the context a little bit. And if you're familiar with Universal Design for Learning, it's UDL, there are multiple means of expression, multiple means of representation, and we don't necessarily require, especially in early childhood education and development, that we present all these different modalities, if you want to express yourself and you are not comfortable to say something, do you want to draw something? Or do you want to do it some other way, right? So I think as educators, let's examine and not so quickly conclude that our children are maybe too shy or they're too scared. But let's also reframe and think that maybe they are not ready. Let me create the conditions to help them become more ready. Personally, I just keep asking questions, and sometimes I just answer my own questions until it becomes very normal for them to know that, in the classroom, I like to ask questions, and they get used to it. So try different things. And of course, yeah, don't let's create the opportunities is what I'm saying.
yeah. I would also feel I actually my point actually goes in line with the two people who have actually shared questions about uh, delayed language or ASD or
Yeah.
autistic kids. And actually, my answer to your question was actually going to be the same thing, which is I think at Treehouse, we really, really believe so much in the fact that every child is unique, every child is different. For education to be done right, it needs to be personalized, customized, and individualized to the needs, interests, and personality of the children. So there are going to be kids who are quiet. There are going to be kids who are boisterous. There are going to be kids that learn in different ways. There are going to be kids with learning difficulties that are difficult only because of the context in which they're expected to perform, right? We really believe that when learning is done right, when teaching is done right, it recognizes that every child is unique. It provides a lot of options for you to cater the education to what the kids need. And it speaks a universal language of play and that's why at Little Lab we also have many different levels. So for the people with kids with special needs or autism or everything, actually Little Lab is perfect for you because it's play-based and project-based, and because it's level not based upon your age, but like we evaluate where your kids are in terms of learning level, what their interests are, and then we customize the learning. The recommended learning is actually provided to you. So when we talked about that library, somebody had asked about our little lab. and having a lot of projects that we have in lesson plans and resources, it's not just that we have this library. We also have technology that learns about you and the children, and it will recommend the one that is suitable for you and your children, depending on where your kids are at, what they're like, what they're interested in. And I think when education is done in that way, with the child in mind, and not with like, oh, the kids need to do this, this, and this, and this, because that is what as adults we expect them to do, right? It really changes the lens, and your question will change too. It won't anymore be like, what if the kids don't answer? It'll be like, oh, what can we do to make it engaging for the kids so that they can engage? And we don't care whether they speak or not, because if they're having fun, if they're engaging, if they're playing, they will be responsive. They will, if they're interested, they will be answering questions. They'll be excited. And we see this in the children, right? When you ask them questions on a boring topic that they cannot engage with, they're just quiet because they feel like they're being tested. But when it's fun, when it's engaging, when they're like so excited about it, you can't keep them quiet. So really just reimagining that, I think yeah, it will make a huge difference.
Okay, thank you, ma'am,
Okay.
for your answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Are there more questions? Yeah, Samina, but how is it possible to design personalized syllabus for every kid? Can you,
Yes.
take this question?
I wish I could. So I feel like you guys need to come and check out Little Lab. So please reach out to us on the contact form. In the chat, we left our contact because that is really the question that we've been asking. How do we create personalized learning, individualized learning? And that is kind of like what we talk about on our platform when we have all these resources that learn, and it learns, it's intelligent. We're using technology to actually learn about you and the children that you're teaching. And then an algorithm is basically an AI-powered algorithm that will then recommend the right projects and the right subjects and the right lessons that are catered to you. There's also cultural contextualization. It learns that you're in Pakistan, and then it will actually recommend you a project that is catered to your context in Pakistan. Right now, we do this manually as well, where we evaluate the children using our little evaluator, and then based upon that, find the right project for you to deliver to their children. So it may not be individualized to the exact child, but it's individualized to the group of children. And we also give recommendations on when you should shift a child in and out of a class if they are really not in line with the rest of the children. It also does differentiated learning even within the projects. So within the project, we'll say that if your child likes this or they already know this, then do this activity. If your child likes this or knows this already, then do this activity. So there's differentiation even within the projects that we help teachers who use our platform to be able to individualize the learning to the best degree that they can in the context that they can.
Okay. Thank you. Farah, you have made some important comments. Would you like to share those with the whole group? Farah, are you still with us?
Assalamu alaikum.
Awesome.
Yes,
Go ahead, please.
so I'm working as in the school education department, Punjab. I'm the head of education at the delivery unit. One interesting thing, I really enjoyed the presentation. I'm developing the education sector strategy for Punjab, and I think it'd be great if it can go to other provinces also. There's a international. Pakistan is holding its first ever international education conference from 26th to 28th March in Lahore. And yes, so I mean, I'd love to invite you because nobody in Punjab knows about this program. So Qaid has become PECTA, which is a new, it combines departments. So I'd love to invite you for that. And definitely, if we can engage on the education sector strategy that I'm making, that'd be really good.
We will, inshallah.
Yeah, please contact us. We've actually been working with Kayat actually, so but we would love
they've
to. We would love
they've
to.
already worked with Qaid. So
Yes,
they
so,
know why
so there's a new director, there's a new manager academics, and I'm actually the one who's supposed to be monitoring them from the secretary level. So I'm at the school education department, and I'm the delivery
Okay.
unit. So
Oh,
I
we
think
would
that's
love
really good.
we
All
would
right.
love to. Please reach out to us. We would love to chat with you more for
Yeah,
sure.
Farah, can you please share the comments which you have written in the group?
Right.
I want you to share those comments with the rest of the participants.
So yes, I think so. I was invited.
Oh,
You're
Farah, I think you're mute now.
yeah,
Okay, sorry.
you're mute.
Yes, so I think I've worked with severely autistic children. So I have an undergrad from LUMS and a master's in international education policy from Harvard University, and Harvard Graduate School of Education. So I completely understand. I started off my career as a teacher in a rural school, and I taught 3 grades under one roof. And I completely understand where people, children, teachers are speaking from different. I know the context. I've been in the classroom at a ground level, and we have to understand children. We do not. We do.
Absolutely.
There's no learner profile in the system. What my struggle is right now is that I'm trying to make policy shift policy which is centered on the child. So we need to know what kind of citizen do we want at the end of a child's schooling. Pakistan has the highest dropout rate and the highest number of out-of-school children after Nigeria in the world. And I've been told by the Japanese JICA that we're going to be #1 very soon.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
yes. So if we do not understand the children that we're working with, our children are not learning. I think everybody will agree that our children are not learning. It's not a fruitful. They're not. It's not fruitful for them to be in our education system at this time. So we need to give children. The agency and the power. They're not empty vessels. They're not empty vessels. We're not drilling things into them. We need to make them partners in learning. So an early years philosophy. We're speaking with Reggio Emilia director. He's offered to come and set up a center for research and development in Pakistan, just like it has been developed in China and Uzbekistan. And so it'd be really good if we can align all our efforts to make something which is really good for not just Punjab, but for all of Pakistan. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my camera is not working, so you cannot see me. I don't know what's happened to
No,
my
we
camera.
can see you. No, we
Your
can see
camera is
you,
working
Farah.
just fine.
You can
Yeah,
see
we
me?
can
Good.
see you
Oh,
Yes,
very
we
well.
can
all
see
right,
you. You look
wonderful.
fantastic.
Okay,
But
wonderful.
Farah,
So,
you're absolutely
Ania,
preaching to the
we have to. But I'm sorry, we have to close this webinar.
Yes,
This is so powerful. Thank you so much,
thank you.
Elaine,
you.
Elizabeth.
Oh my gosh. I really am
Naja.
so invigorated talking to you guys as well. And
Yeah,
Farah, Wazir, please
please.
reach out to us. We actually have a lot of learnings from the study study that we did. And we would love to change the trajectory. You're not gonna be #1. You're not gonna be #1 on that list. You're gonna be #1 on the list of the most changed education system. So
Yeah,
we
hope
would
so. Hope so.
love to work with you to do that. So
Super.
please reach out to
Some,
us.
yeah,
Will do.
some participants, I'm so sorry, some participants have already raised their hands, but we cannot, take more questions. We will share the recording of the webinar with all of you. And this was wonderful. Thank you once again, Elaine, for your time, and Elizabeth, for your wonderful presentation. I love the way you talked about the social emotional part of child development. Since I'm a child development expert, so whatever you said was very close to my heart. So thank you very much. And Farah, looking forward to talking to you and finding ways to work with each other. Dr. Asma, I think you have joined now, so but unfortunately we are going to close the webinar because it's already been a little bit over time. So Thank you so much, and thank you for the active presentation of all the participants. Elaine, I'm sure you will agree with me. Look at the number of questions, yeah, and the kind of enthusiasm you have generated. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And
Thank
stay
you.
in
so much for
touch. Reach
joining.
out to us. We would love to hear from you. Thank you all and super excited for Pakistan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yes.
Thank you.